Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Gwen. Hope you're having an awesome day. And if not, let me tell you, the intention of this podcast is truly to lift your spirits, make you think, and leave feeling a little bit better. Now, I am in great spirits right now. I just came off of teaching a live Q&A with some of the students in my Lead the Course program. I'm also 8 months pregnant, and let me tell you, the energy is good. The last 2 days, I've been feeling better than I've been feeling this entire time. And you know what? I think it's mostly because I am taking care of myself in the morning and the evening intentionally. For example, I'm shutting down the technology at night. I've got a white noise machine that's actually for the baby, but I'm using it. And I'm using diffusers and just reading a book instead of scrolling. And then I'm starting the mornings with meditation at 9 a.m. I'm doing a group meditation with a great group in Sherry Salata, author, producer, transformation doula, and coach. She has a great membership community and we do meditations every day. So the energy is good. And I really need the energy to be good based on what I'm talking about today. Because for many people listening, this is not new. This topic is not new. But for some, this might be a little strange, a little out there. And so if you're watching this on YouTube, your girl's got her professional blazer on as she talks about Abraham Hicks and infinite intelligence. Or if you're listening, just picture me as a businesswoman talking about spirituality. So I want to start with a quote. Here it is. Though it may seem like the world is falling apart, we are actually living in a very special time of global transformation, moving from the information age to the intuition age. And right now we're experiencing the early signs of this sweeping change. That's from an amazing author named Penny Pierce. The world is becoming more transparent, more intuitive. You may have noticed all the answers to everything you want to know are essentially on the internet. And yet we're not satisfied. We want something more. And today I want to talk to you about a teacher for a new era, Abraham Hicks. Now I'm going to share with you who is Abraham Hicks, my introduction to this world, and then I'm going to share with you a clip of me actually interacting with Abraham Hicks, asking about education. So who or what is Abraham Hicks? Well, to me, Abraham Hicks is a spiritual teacher, and Abraham Hicks is a woman named Esther Hicks who channels infinite intelligence. Yeah, that's what Abraham Hicks is. But let me share with you what the definition, or on their website, they say, who or what is Abraham? So what it says is, sometimes no amount of words will do a subject justice. Abraham is a name, a symbol, a feeling, evocative yet simple, like we want our names to be. But who or what is/are Abraham really? Louise Hay calls them some of the best teachers on the planet today. Dr. Wayne Dyer says they are the great masters of the universe. Abraham has described themselves as a group consciousness from the non-physical dimension. They have also said, we are that which you are. You are the leading edge of that which we are. We are that which is at the heart of all religions. Okay, keeping it going here. Abraham has told us through Esther that whenever we feel moments of great love, exhilaration, pure joy, stoned out bliss, even the energy of sexual orgasm, when we feel that energy flow rushing through our bodies, that is the energy of source, and that is who Abraham is. Esther herself calls Abraham infinite intelligence, and to Jerry is Esther's husband who has passed away, they are the purest form of love I've ever experienced. We say, check out Abraham for yourself. It's the only way to go and the only way to know. If watching or listening or reading the words of Abraham feels good to you, then you're in the right place. If they sound off to you or maybe even a little bit annoying, adventure on. And finally, from Jerry, Mr. Practical. I don't know what they are, and I don't care what they are. I'm just using them for the good it will do for myself and others. And sometimes all is said with just one word, Abraham. They just are what they are. Okay. Okay. So I have been listening to Abraham since 2016. And as I read that definition, I know there's many people who are like, of course, yes, this. And then I also hear it from a very practical left brain standpoint of, Gwen, what did you just say to me? So again, I will say there's this woman named Esther who I guess clears her mind and just kind of taps into the whole collective universal intelligence and channels a pure energy called Abraham. That's the best I can do today. Okay. And really, to simplify it as far as I can go, it's just Abraham is a teacher. And this entity has been being channeled since 1985. And Esther, or Abraham, has written 4 books. One of them is very popular, Ask and It Is Given. And you might have been slightly familiar with the Abraham world through the book or the movie The Secret. That book and movie is based on the law of attraction, which is what Abraham teaches about. But from what I understand, their message wasn't conveyed correctly in The Secret. So they've been taken out of The Secret. So they're no longer in there. So I have been hesitant to talk about Abraham being one of my life teachers because it's kind of weird. Like, it's weird in some ways, but when you listen to the teachings, it just, to me, where I'm at in life, it just sounds natural. Just sounds like, of course, it's just reminders. And I have had many reminders along the way, or kind of indicators that I'm not that weird for listening to Abraham. For example, I found out that Sherry Salata, she's been learning from Abraham for 20 years, and she was the executive producer of the Oprah Winfrey Show. And I found that very comforting to know that she has been learning from this teacher for so many years. And I want to just get into how I discovered Abraham, because it's kind of a fun story. And then I want to share with you that clip. So I discovered Abraham in 2016. I remember exactly where I was sitting. I was in a Reiki class. So Reiki is a Japanese energy healing class. It promotes healing. And I was just kind of in that experimentation form of life. I was in my mid-20s, one of those gals who works really hard and kept burning out and was kind of seeking spiritual solutions and just ways to relax that didn't involve alcohol. And so I took a Reiki class. At the end of class, a few women were hanging out, just sitting around talking about spirituality and things. And I heard them talk about Abraham Hicks on YouTube. And I just kind of joined in the conversation. And I asked, oh, that's interesting. Well, do you have a video you recommend watching? And they kind of laughed and they said, like, any of them. I'm like, what? You're not going to recommend a single video? You're just going to recommend any videos from a teacher? That's kind of strange. So it definitely piqued my curiosity. So that night I went home and started listening, just kind of Googling or YouTubing Abraham Hicks, and started listening and have not gone back. And I guess it's been over 7 years at this point. So I was definitely skeptical at first. I'm like, what? Who is Esther? Why is she the chosen one? I look at the website for credibility. I'm like, why is this website so bad? But I have an open mind, and I was listening. And as I was listening, I felt like I was a dry plant soaking up water and nutrients, really just growing and leaning into the sun and just feeling like, oh, these words sound really good. And kind of wondering, where's this information been? And what's so fascinating is Abraham Hicks, their teachings are essentially evergreen. So if you listen to something from 40 years ago, when it essentially first came out, it will still resonate with you today, which is so fascinating. Now, I know I haven't even dove into what is the content, but it's like Abraham is, I'm going to say the same thing that the ladies at the Reiki class told me. Go on YouTube, type in Abraham Hicks, click on something and just see how it lands with you. I mean, it's just fascinating. So one of the reasons I was a bit hesitant to ever share publicly that I listened to these teachings is I remember one day, maybe it was pretty recent after I first discovered the Abraham world in 2016. And one of my sisters was living with me. And I remember she was going through a bit of a hard time, a bit of I think a breakup. And we were in Toronto, walking down Bathurst Street towards King Street, towards a Starbucks. And, we're just talking about her going through a bit of a hard time. And now this sister is very practical. Okay. She knows, she's an eye roller at me when I do talk about spirituality or dreaming and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, you know what, whatever, let's just tell her about this Abraham thing. So we're walking and talking, and I basically told her, oh, well, I know you're not feeling like that great. This is kind of weird, but I just discovered there's this teacher called Abraham and has really great advice when you're going through a hard time. And she must have asked like, oh, Abraham, who is that? And I very casually told her, oh, Abraham is this woman named Esther who channels collective intelligence. My sister looked at me, her eyes started to glaze over, and she literally doubled down in laughter on the middle of a busy street. And she couldn't stop laughing. She could not stop laughing. She thought I was kidding. Like, this completely disrupted our whole conversation, derailed our complaining session. It was great, but she couldn't stop laughing because she could tell how sincere I was about this Abraham character and that I was serious and wanted to help, but it sounded so wild to her that she just couldn't stop laughing. So that memory will always stick with me. And I just realized, oh, this is a little bit far out. Maybe I shouldn't talk about this. So that was many years ago, but times are truly changing and we're seeking different solutions right now. And even I'm in a marketing community right now, and there's a woman in the community who has a very kind of left brain, like chief marketing officer vibe. And, or that's how I perceived her, should I say. But I remember posting an Abraham quote on Twitter and her liking it or engaging with it, and later saying that she's been listening for a long time as well. And I was like, no way. I would never imagine someone like her could even entertain something this weird. And so I feel like there's more people that I don't realize who are into this world. And who cares? Just shed some light on it. That's what I'm all about. And I remember seeing the rapper Big Sean. He has been a huge fan of the book Ask and It Is Given. He did a tour for Architectural Digest magazine, and he shows the book off and shows that he picked it up in high school and how it has helped guide his career. So if it's good enough for Big Sean, like, it's good enough for me. So at this point, where I'm at with the teachings is I subscribe to the daily quote, the daily newsletter. I would love to go to an actual in-person event one day. They do cruises to really cool places, which could be very interesting. But also during the pandemic times, they did virtual Q&As. And your girl just thought, hey, maybe I could ask a question. Maybe I would get picked. And guess what? I did. So I want to share with you right now the clip of when I got to ask Abraham about the purpose of education. So listen in and enjoy.
Hi, Abraham. Hi, everyone. My question is, what is the purpose of education? And I know you've said that words don't teach, it's life experience that teaches, but it seems like our teachers are creating a lot of words, books and courses with a lot of words. So I'd love to get your advice on what is the best way to create educational content or education that truly teaches people?
Again, we say, words don't teach, it's life experience. But when you're able to combine life experience with some words that are resonant with the life experience, then that's where true knowing comes. There's a lot of diversity, and diversity in intention, that is happening in the world of academia, in the world of words, in the world of humans wanting to influence others. And so we cannot have a discussion about teaching or about learning or about speaking or about influence without putting at the basis of it the ability to recognize personally the resonance of what you're receiving, the vibrational accuracy of what you're receiving. Of course, there are lots of facts. There are lots of historical records of things that people have and are experiencing that a true deliberate creator may not want to have active in their vibration because they're not wanting to, by law of attraction, call that to them or them to that. And so, from our point of view, ultimate teaching must include instruction or conversation about how to personally ascertain personal benefit in what is being received. Esther spends a lot of time thinking about this subject because there's so much that is presented in the world that just isn't vibrationally accurate. One of the first things that made Esther and Jerry aware of this was a rather famous book, famous in the realm of self-help, that Jerry and Esther saw their work belonging to. And the author of the book had several points that were a sort of basis, or it was up front in his book. It seems like there were about 12 different points that he was making. And Jerry read the points and asked us to comment on them. And so we read number 1, and we read number 2, and we read number 3, and as we were progressing through them, we pointed out to Jerry that a person who really believes point number 1 would not make a statement like point number 8. And if somebody really believed point number 5, then they would not say what they'd said in point number 4. And so what we were letting Jerry understand is that this was not a group of beliefs that had been received from a vibrationally accurate, non-physical vantage point where all things are harmonious. This was just a collection of what physical humans think that sounded good, that had been collected from a lot of different places that were not vibrationally accurate one with another. So sometimes, for example, Esther will be watching a movie where there is a presentation of a character who is presented as being happy and alive and aligned and tuned in, tapped in, turned on. In other words, they're doing all of the physical things that indicate that kind of alignment. And then something totally uncharacteristic to alignment befalls that person. And Esther will say, no, 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 no. Someone who feels like that would not create that. Which was a bit what our friend, our surfer friend, was conveying to us today in his question about the dolphins. In other words, how is it that I think that I'm feeling this way, and yet, in other words, I think I'm upside down and all around, and yet good things are still coming to me. And so we want to make a clarification about that here in this segment. And that is to say that you are moving around in your relationship with your inner being on a really regular basis. So if we were standing in your physical shoes and we were really interested in creating a curriculum that would be easily understood and of benefit, then we would have the attitude, this must build on itself and it must be allowed to naturally evolve, which is what our friend said to all of us today when she said, this is fresh. This is fresh because we have a basis of understanding from which we never deviate. And then you present your life experiences and we show you how they fit and why they feel the way they do. There is nothing off limits in this life that you live, and there's nothing off limits in academia or what you are allowed to receive or learn or believe. In other words, it's not like that. Non-physical is not offering to you a synopsis of how you should live. Non-physical is offering to you, and it is certainly what we are about in these conversations, understanding of how it is that you create your own reality, and you are completely free to create whatever reality that you choose. So, relative to any subject that you might be wanting to teach or influence, our soft and easy criteria would be, start with a basis that is solid and that blends and resonates and calibrates to the source within every individual who will receive it. And then go from there. Feel your way through it. We would teach alignment to every class that we ever were instructing on any subject. Some years ago, Jerry and Esther were taking a tour in some foreign city. And it was a guided tour in that you walked a ways and there was a post with a sign and headphones and a recorder. And so you would stop at different vantage points along the trail and listen to what they were saying. And the recorder said in Jerry and Esther's ear that this city was built in this way and that this wall was built in order to protect the city from the possible intruders that would come. And as the recording was playing in Esther's ear, we said to her, that is not correct because the intruders were all coming from the sea. In other words, there was a misunderstanding by whoever had come across the wall and presented an historical record. History in the making, we said to them. And there are so many assumptions that are made by humans that are not vibrationally accurate. It's one of the things that Esther writes most often in her inactive box on a daily basis, wanting to deactivate my tendency to assume based upon the limited perspective that I hold about this and this and this. Wanting to give more the benefit of the doubt and not wanting to assign assumptions to anyone. Really good conversation.
So that was fascinating, right? That was an interesting clip. Lots to take in here. So I just want to share with you, I just want to present you something to consider, to look into, and just know that myself, I do appreciate all of the science and the left brain teachings on education, but also I'm craving something elevated and the next level as we move from the information age to the intuition age. So let me know if there was any part of that that resonated with you. I'm going to post a clip on Instagram. Leave me a comment or DM me if you're like an Abraham fan or have any quotes that you really like. And just my ultimate takeaway from the teachings is that really the whole point, or really the goal, is just to feel good and to enjoy your life. I mean, that's the core of the teaching from what I understand. Just you're here to enjoy your life. And the foundation of that is freedom, joy, and love. And that sounds simple and essential, and it rings true to me. So I'll wrap up this week's podcast episode here. Leave me a comment on YouTube or subscribe to the podcast for many more interesting introductions to teachers and talking about online education. And if you did enjoy this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you would rate it and perhaps leave a review. And if you want to stay connected, join my weekly newsletter where I share tips, teachers, advice on how to build a course-based business and truly live an awesome life. So take good care of you, and I'll see you next week.